I think our beloved Beth may have gone down a little bit. Hopefully she'll be right back.
I think we're just having a moment of technical difficulties, but hang in with us. We'll be right back and the service is going to be wonderful. Just don't leave. Just wait.
So hi everyone and welcome. I'm not sure what happened. I think that Katie, our slideshow person, may have crashed. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share the slideshow because I can do that on mine, and hopefully she'll be back here soon. So she's all the way in Colorado, bless her heart. All right. Hope you all can see the screen and everything. Oh, Katie is back. I'm gonna actually let her then do this.
Good morning. Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church on Zoom. My name is Steve Morihiro, and I am your worship associate today. Joining me and welcoming you this morning are the Reverend Sean Wilshire, Rica Calfo, our Intern Minister, and Beth Syverson, our Director of Music Ministries. We are delighted to be joined today by the Orange Coast Virtual Choir, and also guest musicians Phil Chipman, Barbara Morihiro, Susan Shaw, and me. Reverend Judy Tomlinson, our Director of Religious Education, already held classes for the children earlier this morning, and she will offer one for our youth after the service. I would like to invite you to open the chat box, and if you haven't done so already, send out a greeting to everybody. You are welcome to communicate via chat throughout the service. If you prefer not to have the chat panel open during the service, you can close it. We'll let you know if you need to open the chat panel again. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Shortly after the service ends, we will be placing everyone who remains into Zoom breakout rooms for 20 minutes of coffee and conversation. Everyone is welcome to participate in these breakout rooms. It's a great way to get to know other people in the congregation. At this time, let us light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalist tradition. If you have one at home, we can light them together. We encourage you to say our unison affirmation even in the privacy of your own home, knowing that people all over this county and beyond are saying it with you. So, let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Please join the Orange Coast Virtual Choir in singing our opening song, Sanctuary.
Make us a we our sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through, with thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary anew. Make us a we our sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through, with thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary anew.
Let's everybody take some deep breaths. So glad we're in this together with each other. There's a lot of chaos going on, and I feel like our challenges this morning just sort of reflect what's been going on in the nation this week. It's been quite a week for our nation. It feels like nothing's really changed despite all of the anti-oppression work of so much hard work that's been done, and violence has broken out across various cities are voicing frustration, anger, and despair. And all this comes at a time when politicians and houses of worship are duking it out over whether or not to open their doors. Well, our opening words today are by the Bishop-elect of the Episcopal Church in the Diocese of Missouri, Dion K. Johnson. And I thought that they sort of address the role of the church at this time. He wrote this. He said, "The work of the church is essential. The work of caring for the lonely, the marginalized, and the oppressed is essential. The work of speaking truth to power and seeking justice is essential. The work of being loving, liberating, and life-giving presence in the world is essential. The work of welcoming the stranger, the refugee, and the undocumented is essential. The work of reconciliation and healing and caring is essential. The church does not need to open because the church never closed. We who make up the church, we love God and our neighbors and ourselves so much that we will stay away from our buildings until it's safe. We are the church. Amen.
When I was a boy each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. And he would read the holy word and concentrate the holy bread. And everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Water from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. And holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath, like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush
And singing like a scripture verse.
It made me want to bow my head. I remember when in church let out how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world having second rates and down. But I won't give me the reverent hand, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy.
So our church, like so many others, so many congregations and houses of worship that are going through this major transition, right? We've been talking about this for a while. But it's along with the rest of society. Everything is online. How do we do worship online? How do we take care of the marginalized? How do we speak truth to power this way? How do we be a sanctuary during this time? And our nation's going through a transition. It's been going through one for quite a long time, the transition to being an anti-racist, anti-oppression society. And as you can see on the news, that's never easy. There are also individual transitions coming up as people are graduating from schools and colleges and seminaries, and now they're entering an uncertain world. Now, transitions are a normal part of life. They come in all shapes and sizes. And Rica, as you know, our wonderful intern minister, is one of those who's facing a big transition. She's just graduated from seminary a couple weeks ago, and in about 4 weeks, after 2 years with us as our part-time intern, she's going to be leaving us. It's a big transition for her, for us. It's important to understand all that it takes to go through a transition. A transition is that between time. It's after the starting and before the transformation, right? And it's not an easy time. And every minister has been in the process of a transition from the moment they start. It takes a lot to transition to becoming a minister. So, and I want to kind of take you through. Let me explain. So first of all, there are 3 different statuses that you have on your path to ministry. The first is the aspirant status. To become an aspirant, this is what you have to do. So first of all, you have to fill out an application. You have to go through an interview with usually a minister or a district executive. You have to have been accepted already into seminary. You have to have a background check, criminal background check. And the big one is that you have to have congregational sponsorship. So Rica, I believe, got hers at Long Beach, where she was attending at that time. So once you do all of that, which can be kind of a big deal just to get that all in, then you're going to go into candidate status. To obtain candidate status, you have to have at least completed 1 year of seminary. You have to go through this really big psychological evaluation that's kind of intensive, and there's all these tests and all sorts of fun stuff. You go through yet another background check, and you have to have completed your clinical pastoral education, what's known as CPE. It's basically a chaplaincy for at least 3 months full-time at a hospital. And you can spread that out over a year, or you can do it for 3 months. Once you get there, then you're going for fellowship status. This is actually even preliminary fellowship status, but it's fellowship status nonetheless. So in order to obtain fellowship status, okay, first thing you need to do is write a ton of essays, and you've got to finish your Master's of Divinity, which is what Rica just completed a few weeks ago. So yeah, she is, I always like to joke, she's a master of the divine, yay. So after that, then you also have to finish in your internship, right? There is a huge list of reading that she has to complete. Like, I think there's 30 or 40 books on there that she has to complete that reading list. It's pretty intensive. You have to go through an even more detailed background check. It's like, okay. You have to get references from various people. And once you've done all of that and it's all put together in this really big packet, then it happens. Then it's the MFC. Dun, 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 as Beth says. This is, now these acronyms you may not know, it stands for the Ministerial Fellowshipping Committee. This is the big thing. It's sort of like a doctoral exam. It's an oral examination that they can ask you absolutely anything, and you have to preach for them for 10 minutes into this crowd of like 10 people. And then they determine whether or not you are then fellowshipped in that hour that you are with them. So it's kind of an intensive thing. Rica, I believe, has her interview scheduled for October. So bless her heart. So I'm not even going to go into how much all of this might cost at this point. But you might wonder, like, well, why am I mentioning all of this? Well, okay, couple of reasons. One is for you to understand that there's so much that goes into this, and we're a big part of that. The internship is a huge part of that. But it's also for you to understand that part of her protocol of becoming a minister is that she actually cannot interact with this congregation on a formal basis. So she won't be our worship associate. She won't be helping out in religious education. She won't be attending, not for a while. It's part of her transition from intern to full-fledged minister, is to shed the intern title and to be on her own. But she will come back to us because we get to ordain her. Yay. So we'll be ordaining her sometime later, probably in 2021. So the second reason why I wanted to tell you about this minister process, all of this going, is to look at these transitions in our lives, because this has been a huge transition for Rica. Now, some transitions, it looks like they have these wonderful check boxes that we can do right next to them that make us feel like we're moving forward, right? So CPE, check, internship, check, application in, check, degree obtained, check. We've got all these nice checks. But those check boxes are not what makes a minister. What makes a minister is what's inside of them. It's a calling, it's a presence. And people do get all the way to the end, to the MFC, and they don't pass because they actually haven't made the transition, the full transition inside. They haven't done the work that's needed. Now, I don't think that that's going to be an issue for our beloved Rica. Sorry, I don't mean to freak you out, Rica. But there is a transition that has to go on internally. It has to be something inside of us that helps us in that, to go through that, to become out finally transformed. As a nation, we've come a long way in anti-racist work, but obviously we have a long way to go. And it can feel like, but we've checked a lot of boxes. We've got civil rights laws, marriage equality laws, check. Diversity training, check. Sexual harassment policy, check. Hey, we had the first Black president, check, check. The reality. I think you can see from the news that our transition is not complete. Transitions are not about check boxes that we can say we've done this. They require something deeper inside of us for us to wake up. A transition is that process. It's not the beginning or the end. It's that middle part of transformation. It's that holy Saturday between the death and the resurrection, the time before the full transformation happens. And transitions can be difficult times of uncertainty and often of chaos. The key to getting through them is to, in a sense, kind of wake up. To find that part of yourself that's holding back from that transformation. It won't be a checkbox. It'll come deep within you. Sometimes we need to get there. We need to remember who we are, to wake up to that part of ourselves that might have fallen asleep. The song Spirit of Life. This is one of the most beloved Unitarian Universalist hymns. For those of you who are new, this is like our anthem, our doxology. Okay, and it was written by this woman named Carolyn Dade, who was a lifelong activist in every type of activism you can possibly imagine. It was her life's blood. But as you can imagine, she was getting frustrated and burnt out. And she went to one more justice meeting feeling defeated, feeling tired of the world and all its injustices. But she's like, I don't want to quit. I need something. I need something. So instead she wrote what was on her heart and she put a prayer into song. So as we sing, I invite you to consider in your own life, what has helped you to get through tough transitions? Was it a song or a prayer, a friendship, a symbol, a community? What helped you through transitions to open up yourself to get through it? Let us sing. Spirit of love, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I can still remember the evening before I left to Germany to move to the US. It was the August after I had graduated high school, and I was all packed and ready to move to Macomb, Illinois. For months, I had been so excited. But now, the night before, I was crushed not only by jitters, but also by the gravity of the situation. I was moving out of my parents' home, yes, but I was also moving across an ocean by myself, possibly forever. That night, I couldn't sleep. Until the wee hours in the morning, I was lying awake, crying and crying and crying. And my parents, my mom and dad, sat by my bedside singing me lullabies like they had done when I was a small child. The next morning, I got up and I got on a plane. And when I landed, a student volunteer with a big smile and incredibly white teeth picked me up, handed me a pack of Oreo cookies, and drove me to my dorm. That night, when I went to bed, I was all by myself, but I was tired enough to fall asleep in an instant. When I think about transitions, this 48-hour period always comes to my mind because it was so simple and clear-cut. One night, I was spending the last few moments of my childhood with my parents in my home country. The next night, I was all alone, a grown-up, an immigrant on a different continent, ready to start this new, exciting life of mine. It was as simple as getting on a plane, as eating Oreo cookies in a minivan while waiting to arrive in my new home, my new life, the first night of my future. Now I'm again at a moment of transition. I graduated with my MDiv, and 3 Sundays from today will be the last day of my internship with you. I will see the MFC in October and hopefully pass. You will ordain me, I hope, and with that, I will start my future as a minister. And yet none of that seems clear-cut and simple, even if I get through all of that. Often ministers have to move to where the job is. I have a young child, Elise, you know her, and she has a dad in the area. I can't just move her away, and I wouldn't move without her. So I'll have to wait and see what opens up around here. And even if the most perfect job would pop up right here, would I take it right now? Being a single parent and a full-time parish minister sounds daunting, to say the least. I really did love chaplaincy, and I would love to work as a chaplain for a few years. Do I give up my stable job at UCI and the really great benefits that come with it for residency, not knowing if I will be hired full-time afterwards? Full-time chaplaincy jobs are few and far between. Or will I keep my job and take CPE units on the side, squeezing in 1,200 hours of unpaid work over the next few years? Or will it be something completely different? I can't tell you yet because I don't know. The only thing I know is that next year I'll take a little break, just work at UCI and catch my breath. And then we'll see. But what I take from this is that transitions are barely as easy as the one when I left Germany for the US. Usually there's so much more to consider. Attachments, responsibilities, costs. How lucky and how privileged I was to be able to just pack up and leave and study in the US. Life is barely as easy as that. Transitions, even the ones we enter in willingly, are hard. They're scary. And not every transition is planned or wanted either. Sometimes we are forced into a transition. The loss of a job, the death of a loved one, divorce, or the pandemic. Nobody asked for this. None of it is clear or simple. We have no idea where this will lead us, when this will be over, or what the world will look like afterwards. How do we deal with transitions and change with our urge to hold on to the life we've loved when all control is taken from us? How do we lean into things falling apart when we have no idea yet when, where, and how we'll put them back together? Sometimes too, we know that change, a transition into something new yet unknown to us, has to happen because the status quo is becoming too unbearable. Maybe that knowledge is what brought protesters to the streets during the past few days all around their country to express their rage, grief, despair, and their want for change. They know that the status quo is unbearable and has to change whatever it takes. And we know this too. Racism is still raging in this country. George Floyd was murdered by the police laying face down in the street with a knee on his neck. Breonna Taylor was murdered by the police when they stormed into her apartment in the middle of the night. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered while jogging, and for weeks his murderers walked around freely. May they rest in power. These are just the most recent names on an ever-growing list. And this is also just the tip of the iceberg. There's also mass incarceration, the school-to-prison pipeline, lack of equitable opportunities, and an economic system that undergirds the racist realities of this country. This is too much. This is too painful. Something's gotta give. And we know that deep in our hearts. We may not know how or what, but we know that we need change now, even if it is hard and scary and unknown. Because this I deeply believe. The ongoing pain of racism is worse than the pain of transition or the growing pain of healing will be. How do we get there? I don't know. This we must figure out together, and we must start by listening, really listening deeply and with open hearts to those who are most hurt by the system, even when we may feel uncomfortable by what is said or how it is said. We need to listen. How will we get through? By leaning in and leaning on each other, by reaching out and building community. When I said that my coming to America was simple, I didn't mean that it wasn't also hard. Of course it was hard. But what made it possible were the people who were with me, not only my parents who sent me on my way so lovingly, but also the long line of people here who received me, starting with that volunteer with the incredibly white teeth. I experienced Americans. I have experienced you at your very best. And surely when I just came to the US, that was also part of my first experience of my own white privilege in this country. But what I've learned from this is that you can do this, that we can do this. For me, this work is what called me to ministry. And I believe that working for justice is what called many of you to this faith, even if it's hard and even if it's scary. We just have to figure out how. So what can we do to make this change happen? As individuals, as a church community, and as a nation? What can we do and what will we do? I invite you to ponder this question as we sing Spirit of Life again.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots of me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
So back in 1993, I believe it was 1993, I was back in my 20s, and I was studying. It was an incredibly stressful time for me because I was studying for my doctoral exam. And some of you know that I was studying archaeology. I was going to be an archaeology professor, and this was a really intense. So at that point, it was probably one of the most stressful times of my life in my 20s. It was stressful because I was studying from 8 in the morning until like 10 at night. I remember I only took Friday evenings off and Sunday afternoons because that's when I went grocery shopping. I actually allowed myself to go see a movie on Friday evenings. So it was just like this really intense time, and I knew that the stress was getting to me, but at that time I really just didn't know how to manage that. And one day, I think my roommate had a bunch of old Time magazines around. And I remember at breakfast, I was flipping through it, and I saw this picture of Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, the movie. And he's sort of sitting there driving with the hedgehog. And first, to this day, it makes me laugh. Now, I have no idea. I love this movie. As you know, it's one of my favorites. I've talked about it before. But I remember when I first laughed, that first time I laughed when I saw it, I felt like I had kind of like woken up from a kind of sleep. I realized, wow, I haven't laughed in so long. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love to laugh. I felt like I was waking up to myself in a sense. So what I did is I cut out this picture from Time magazine. My roommate let me do this. And I put it on my jewelry box so that every morning I would look at it and laugh. And I remembered then that part of myself as someone who loves to laugh. It called me back to who I was, and it helped me with my stress. It helped me be more lighthearted. Now, when Beth was brainstorming music for this service, she sent me Peter Mayer's song, Everything is Holy Now. And she asked me, so will this work? And as I listened to the song, I had a sort of a similar experience. I felt like I was waking up to something that I had been missing. I didn't burst out laughing, but I almost burst out crying. It was exactly what I needed, and I didn't even know it. I needed that reminder for me that everything is holy. I needed to remember, bring it back in my body, to feel it in my bones. Music's so great for that. We kind of came into this pandemic, this transition with no beginning, like it just suddenly started. There was no ritual, nothing to help us through. And transitions are so hard because we face so much unknown. Transitions, as I said, they're at that time in between the beginning and the unknown ending. And because it's all unknown, that's when fear comes up. Maybe it just shows up as low-level anxiety or stressors as we try to figure out how to live in a new way, try to figure out an unknown future. We get so focused on surviving that we forget to thrive. Whether it's adjusting to work at home during a pandemic, trying to get online worship and make sure your congregation is taken care of, or not knowing what your ministry will be in the future, trying to stamp out racism in a country that's steeped in it. It's all stressful. It's stressful because we're in the middle of it and we don't know the way out. We're so focused on surviving, we forget to thrive. And fear, stress, anxiety, it makes us forget who we are, forget often that best part of ourselves. Because of all the stress and anxiety from what's going on in this nation to the pandemic, I'd forgotten to see the world as I usually do, as though everything is holy. Now, everything is holy now. Even, yes, Zoom is holy. Even amid the riots, there is holiness. Holiness in the heartache of the death of innocents. Holiness in the beauty of communities coming to clean up together. Holiness in speaking truth to power. Holiness in seeing each of your faces every single Sunday in that little bitty triangle or rectangle. It's all so holy. And I needed that reminder. And when it came to me, I could feel a lot of my anxiety just melt away. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I'm here for on this earth. To find the holy in everyone and everything. I know I'm not alone in my stress and anxiety, whether it's from the pandemic or the state of our nation. And are you just surviving? What do you need to remember, to bring back into your body in order to thrive? What do you need to wake up to? What part of you needs to come back? What maybe, perhaps, have you forgotten? So I'd like to invite you into just a time of meditation. I want you to just, if you want to join me, just take some deep breaths. Just keep breathing deeply. Soften your eyes. Feel the ground under your feet. Listen to your breath. And ask yourself, what do you need to wake up to right now? What do you need to wake up to in your life? What do you need to remember? Is there a part of you that might have been forgotten amid all the stress of the pandemic, amid all the violence of this last week? As you feel ready, I invite you to invite that part of you back into you. Take some deep breaths and open your eyes when you're ready. And I hope that that was helpful and healing for you. And take a few more deep breaths. I hope you know that whatever's been missing comes back to you, and that you know that you're not alone, that you can hold on to that which helps you thrive. And here's the thing, we, the church, we're here to help you remember. Because I believe that love can hold you during these difficult times. That if we let it, it can wrap us into a loving, wonderful cocoon, and we can rest in that love. That's what these reminders are there for, to bring us back to a time and a place of love. As you wake up to that part of you that will help you thrive during these times, and you wake up to love, let the love of this community surround you. Let it give you strength and help you to remember yourself. And to do that, there is a beautiful chant that we can sing together. Let us sing.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I hold. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we are. There is a love holding us. We rest in this love.
I hope you feel that love. So if you checked your email this morning, you know you got a little gift to help you remember it. Well, actually, Christy Montgomery, our wonderful graphic designer, she actually created it. But I sent it to everyone in an email earlier this morning, and I'll paste it on our Facebook group and our website. You can also email me if you haven't gotten it, and I'll send it to you. And it looks like this. It's a beautiful heart. And around the edges it says, there is a love holding me, and I rest in this love. Here's my invitation to you. You remember that picture of Groundhog's Day that I put up in my jewelry box so I would look at it every day? I invite you to print out this graphic that was sent to you in your email. You can print it out in color, black and white, and then to write in the center that which you need to remember. And post it up somewhere where you'll see it every day. Maybe it's by the bathroom mirror, by your door, above your bed, or in your jewelry box. So mine's gonna look like this. It'll have this in the middle. Everything is holy now. As you look at it each day, you can remember that there is a love holding you. That what you need is there in the center of you, and you only need to wake up to it to remember it. You know, our church is doing so spectacularly well right now. And you'll hear more about that in our annual meeting, but our nation is suffering. We're going to need everyone, not just to survive, but to thrive, everyone. And we can begin with ourselves and then take that out into the world in new and creative ways. We need to remember that we are all, every single person in this nation is held in love. That we all, each of us deserve love, deserve to live in safety. We are Unitarian Universalists. We need to remember that love is at our core, and when we thrive, we answer the call of love. Let us sing.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound. Corrupted by fear, but willing to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. Upon your day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are supporting Stand Up for Kids. Information about this organization is on the screen. Their mission statement is ending the cycle of youth homelessness. We do this in cities across America, one youth at a time. Stand Up for Kids' vision statement is we strive to build communities where all youth know care, feel loved, and have a support system to help them move quickly from surviving to thriving. In other words, they are helping the youth to transition from surviving to thriving. There are 3 ways in which you can give online. The first is through our website, www.ocuuc.org. The second is through an app called Give. You can download it from the App Store for your smartphone, and once you've set it up, you can use it for any of your online giving, including your pledge. The third method is by texting, area code 714-942-1131. Simply text to that number and in the message type the amount. As always, thank you for your generosity as the offering is given and received.
There is a love holding me.
Please join in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share.
Together we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Welcome to our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows, and you are welcome one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate. It's simply a time when we honor something that we hold close in our heart, something profound, a joy, a sorrow, a celebration, whatever it is. So I invite you to just take, again, a couple of deep breaths, become present, and if you become aware of what you're holding in your heart and you would like to share it with the community, you're welcome to simply put it in the chat and we'll read it out loud. You're also invited to light your own candle. It's a great way to embody the honoring of the profound joy or sorrow that you have. I'll begin reading joys and sorrows that were sent to me ahead of time after a few moments. So Dave Carlson had written earlier, I caught that, Dave, you were a little bit early, of lighting a candle of celebration for the unanimous vote by the First Church of Milwaukee to ordain his daughter-in-law, Kimberly Carlson. So congratulations. And Linda Clough also sent me, she noted that she's just really grateful that her daughter seems to be getting the medical and psychiatric care that she needs. Lori Matilapasi says she's remembering her father whose birthday was today. He died 50 years ago at age 49, way too young, but she still thinks of him on his birthday. Tom Lockery is grateful for our board for yesterday's marathon meeting. It was almost 4 hours. Their caring and sharing and love of our congregation. It was beautiful. Jeff and Euless Ayton are lighting a candle of concern for the riot events in LA and other US cities. And Kathy Nargard, yay, she finished radiation on Wednesday. Congratulations. That's wonderful. People are remembering lots of different things. We're hoping for peace and calm in today's protest in Long Beach. Absolutely. Birdie's remembering a time she volunteered at Watts of the first revolt. Remember the anguish of her cousin, a beat patrol policeman in Brooklyn. Everyone is suffering. So Kathy Lewis, both a joy and a sorrow, for retiring this week from teaching special education for 35 years. Wow, that is a tough transition. And Jeffrey Silcock sent me one. He said that his grandmother passed away on Tuesday. So we hold you in love, Jeffrey, and your whole family. And Marie Roller said it's a joy to be invited, I assume, to the service every week by Stacy Smith. Go, Stacy, she's awesome. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for all that you do. Let us hold and love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken or they were silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. And let all these moments, all these human, beautiful moments remind us that we're not alone. I invite you into a spirit of prayer It's a poem that was written in honor of Eric Gardner. If you remember, Eric Gardner in 2014 was killed while being put into a chokehold. He kept saying, "I can't breathe." This week, George Floyd was killed similarly, also begging for his life, saying, "I can't breathe." This poem is sad, but it's also a reminder of his humanity and that he too was essential. It's called A Small Needful Fact by Ross Gay. Is that Eric Gardner worked for some time for the Parks and Recreation Horticultural Department, which means perhaps that with his very large hands, perhaps in all likelihood, he put gently into the earth some plants, which most likely, some of them, in all likelihood, continue to grow, continue to do what plants do, like house and feed small and necessary creatures, like being pleasant to touch and smell, like converting sunlight into food, like making it easier for us to breathe. Amen.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say, "We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again." We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently, and yet when we gather together virtually or otherwise, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. And if you are a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community, if even just for today. We encourage you to write in the chat your name and where you are from. If you'd like to know more about our church, please see our church website for ways that you can get involved and sign up for the weekly email called The Blast at ocuuc.org. If you would like to know more about membership, please contact us at membership@ocууc.org. Our community is enriched by its visitors, guests, and friends, and we hope that you find a spiritual home here. If anyone has a question about Unitarian Universalism or how to get involved, please contact Reverend Sean at minister@ocууc.org. She can assist you in connecting to the congregation. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we'll help you to get connected. After the benediction, we will have a short period of time where everyone can wave and say hello. Those who remain will be placed into Zoom breakout groups for 20 minutes. We invite you to check in and get to know the people in your group and welcome any visitors. Thank you.
So I forgot something. So we're not. So we weren't quite ready to be put into breakout rooms yet. So I forgot something in our joys and sorrows, is that sometimes what we like to do is to celebrate some really big milestones, because sometimes those check marks are really happy and wonderful thing. And there is a milestone that we like to do here in our congregation, which is when somebody reaches 90 years old. And we have someone who this week turned 90, Mr. Ralph Haller. A little birdie told me that you turned 90. And so I would like us all to sing him happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ralph. Happy birthday to you. And many
Happy birthday, Ralph. So our announcements. We've got a lot going on, as you can see, throughout the week. Big notice is that, you know, in 2 weeks we have our annual meeting. You're going to hear lots of amazing stuff that are going on in the congregation. So be there, be square. It'll be a lot of fun. But next Sunday, believe it or not, we are going to be doing flower communion. I know you might be thinking, how in the world can we do flower communion? Because that's when we exchange flowers, right? Can't really do it that way. Well, if you saw your emails this week and also in the blast, we're doing some fun things. It's actually going to be a fun interactive service. That's going to be, we're going to be pushing Zoom to its limit, I think. So come on and join in the fun. But one of the things that we're doing, we're asking everybody to do, is to offer a flower in a 5-second video, like literally just like 5 seconds. That's all you need. And what you do is you take a flower, or if you're like me who really loves succulents, I love succulents. So mine is a succulent. You can actually have a paper flower. You can draw a picture of a flower. But what you do is you have a video, create a video on your phone and send it to Beth. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to start the video like this, with the flower sort of blocking the screen, and then come back and wave, and then bring it back to the screen. So we're going to create a fun video that's going to show us passing around flowers. The other thing that you're invited to do is, as you know, there are virtual backgrounds. Some people on your computer, you can do a virtual background, and some people know how to do this. If you do, you're invited to put flowers in the background. You can also wear a flower shirt or a flower hat, or have flowers around you, some real flowers, whatever you would like to do. Because one of the fun exercises that we're doing, well, the kids are going to be doing it, but you can do it too, is we're going to be doing flower bingo. So we got to have lots of flowers around to play flower bingo. So at any rate, we're going to have a lot of fun. So like I said, pushing Zoom to its limit. We'll have a lot of fun with that. So let me just then leave you with these words to know that you are held in a love. You are held in a love, and you can rest in that love. We'll be going, let's sing our final benediction that we are singing during this time.
Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me.
This service is over. Let our service continue in love.